Okay, let's take a moment to look at the disclaimer. This content is for educational, informational, entertainment purposes only, and nothing should be taken as a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any securities at any time. We're here just to tell you how BTA analyzes the markets. This is Rod from BTA, and we are known as the middle traders. We are not going to get in at the exact bottom, and we're not going to get out at the exact top, but we will. We are going to eat well in the middle. Look, what we're going to do in this video is we're going to take a look at the major market index ETFs. The major market index ETF, the ETFs that we will use if we want to trade the major market. But before we do that, let's take a look at how the market closed today. This is our sentiment screen. Right? So we have the Dow Jones right here. Okay, and the Dow Jones closed down slightly. Might as well say it was flat. 0.13%. So you might as well say 0.1%. Okay, that's pretty much flat. The NASDAQ was up 152 points. It was up pretty well, 1.4%. That's not bad. Okay, that's a pretty good up day. The Standard & Poor's 500, which is right here, it was up slightly, 8 points, roughly 0.2%. Okay, 0.22%. So 0.2%. So it barely was up, kind of flat. All right, but it's still considered an up day. All right, so the market was kind of mixed, didn't really do too much, but the NASDAQ did pretty well. Well, we're going to take a look at now. Now we're going to take a look at the major market index ETFs, right? So let's look at the DIA that tracks the standard, the Dow Jones. This is the DIA, the ETF that tracks the Dow Jones. It was up almost 0.4%, up $1.18. Okay, let's look at the Standard & Poor's 500. It was down. Okay, the SPY, the ETF that tracks the Standard & Poor's 500, it was down 0.05. Now it just ticked to 0.03. It barely was. This is flat, y'all. Okay, it was flat. So that's pretty much flat. Let's look at the Qs. The Qs was up just like the NASDAQ was up, 1.33%. $3.60. It did the best. So the Qs did the best today. The IWM, which is the Russell 2000, the ETF that tracks the Russell 2000, it was up 1%, $1.65. It did pretty well also. And the ITOT, baby, the one we love to trade, me and my daughter, it doesn't move much, $2 or $3 a day. It was up 0.4%, 34 cents. Okay, so the market was up slightly, pretty much flat, up slightly. It wasn't another push to the downside. Volume was above average, pretty much. I believe we're gonna check that when we go look at the charts. Okay. Well, we can see it right here if we want to. It looked like the Q was a little below average. The average volume was 81 million, so a little below average. But we'll look at all of that when we get to our moving average charts with the volume and everything on it. So as you can see, the market was kind of flat. But what is that really telling us? Well, that's just the numbers. Let's look at the charts. The charts is going to give us a better picture. And we see our FANG MT. Okay, we watching that FANG MT. I keep putting videos up, that FANG MT. I keep telling y'all, I don't see how the market is going to go up if the FANG MT stocks, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, Microsoft, Tesla. Remember it, y'all. Memorize it, okay? Because these are the big mega cap stocks. I don't care what other people are saying. If these things right here, the FANG MT, if they can't right the ship, when they make up 50 and 30% of the major market indexes, okay, if they can't right the ship, I don't know how in the world the market is going to go up. All right. So you know we got those on the list. We watch these every day. And all of them was in the green today. All right. All of them was in the green today. So we're going to keep an eye on that. And we're going to look at the charts on a consistent, constant basis. All right. So now let's go to the charts. And let's look at, we're not going to make it long. We're going to do it kind of quick. Let's go to the charts and see what the major market index ETFs are looking like on the daily charts. All right, so here's the DIA. We're going to start with the DIA. And guess what? It ain't nothing to look at. All right? It ain't nothing to talk about. All right, keep telling y'all. It ain't nothing to talk about. You hear me? Here's the 5-day moving average, the white line. Prices are below and closing below a downward trending 5-day moving average. It's nothing to talk about. If you're below a 5-day moving average, it's a wrap. Until I'm not going long, I'm not buying anything that's below a 5-day moving average. And I can't short it at this point. The short was up here, okay? The short was up here when it broke here. If you try to short it now, as far as I'm concerned, you're chasing it, all right? And you know, we're coming up on key support levels. We at extremes on the breadth indications. We are at extremes, okay, on the breadth indicator. We're coming up on long-term weekly support levels. We'll look at that when we analyze the weekly charts. So if you want to try to short it now, taking a new position, be careful. Be careful, because the thing could pop on you and you get caught in a relief rally. Get your head handed to you. Okay? So I will be careful. We below a downward trending 5-day moving average. It's nothing to talk about. I'm not going long or down anything that's below a downward trending 5-day moving average. We're below a downward trending 9-day moving average. If you short, then you want to be below the 9-day moving average because it's telling you on the right side of the trade. The 9-day moving average is going to keep you on the right side of the trade. The 5-day moving average is going to give you the initial short-term momentum indicator. Here's the 21-day moving average, a yellow line, and it's pointing down. And you see we got the overhead downward trend, the 50-day moving average that held the consolidation phase right here, right before it collapsed, all right, last week. And the ching, ching, ching went off for everybody who was paying attention, okay? So that's the DIA on the moving averages. Now, let's look at our structural chart with our key trend lines and support and resistance areas, right? So we got to stay on top of our support and resistance area. And like I told you, look at the DIA. You see that big red, that big, really thick red line right here? That is the high going all the way back to the high of March of 2020, right before the corona collapse. Here it is. We are back to the highs of March of 2020, right before the corona collapse. And you see what we did today? Traded right down to it and found support and bounced. That is a key support level. If we break that, it's a problem. It's a problem. Okay? It's a problem. We right at that and we coming down to this internal trend line right here. So if we break back below this support level, break back below this internal trend line, then that could be a problem. Now we got to start thinking about how low can we go. Well, we're going to look at some weekly support at the resistance level, some weekly trend lines, and we're going to see how that looks. Okay? But for right now, you see what's happening here. We found support. We traded right down to the highs of March of 2020, and it found support and it settled down. Is it going to hold? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to hold, but I'll tell you one thing. That is a key support level. Okay, that's a key support level. Let me see if I can change this data. Okay, to 3 years is there. All right, let me see if I can bring it in some. Maybe I'll be able to bring this in. Maybe I won't. Okay, it doesn't look like it want to come in too far. Let me see. Give me 1 sec. I'm going to see if I can show you that March 2020 level. There it is. Okay, there it is. You see that right here? Look all the way over here. You see that right there? That's the March of 2020, right before the corona collapse. You see, I put that thick red line there. We're right back to it. We found support on it today. Okay? And we got this downward trend line, this internal trend line, and we got this other downward trend line here. That was the downside channel that prices were stuck in for a long time on the way down. Okay, we got to be careful. If we start breaking below this March 2020 highs and get back below this internal trend line, we may come back to this trend line, and that's going to put us down to here and start filling this gap. Okay, this is an unfilled gap from way back last year. Okay, way back going into November of last year, 2021. That is an unfilled gap area right there. It's a possibility if this thing sell off, we could come down here and fill in this gap area. Right here, I'm gonna put right here, this gap area right here. This is the area. I'm gonna fill this in and save it later. But right there, that is an unfilled gap. When we gapped up, that is an unfilled gap. If we break below this high of March of 2020, we could come down and fill this gap. I'm just saying, be careful, okay? Be careful. This thing is coming into some serious key support. So if you're trying to short it now, okay, if you're trying to short it now, you're chasing it. You're chasing it, and you can hit the support levels, and bing, you get your head handed to you. I would hate to see that happen. So I'm warning you right now, be careful. This is not financial advice. You know I can't give financial advice, but wouldn't it be wonderful if it was? Wouldn't it be great? Okay, let's look at the RSI. RSI here is in oversold territories. That's another thing. Okay, we can see how far it goes, but for right now, the RSI is oversold. We down at 29. Okay, and now remember, this RSI can stay oversold a lot longer than your money can last. So don't go shorting something don't go long just because the RSI is oversold. Just because something is oversold, that don't mean it's time to buy. What is the price action telling you? Something can stay oversold a lot longer than your money can last. So be careful. We have to wait for the prices to tell us when it's time to jump in. Okay, but right now we below a downward trending 5-day moving average. It's nothing to talk about. Let's look at the guppy for the DIA. You see that guppy? See that magenta line of closing prices? See that magenta line of closing prices? Below all of the short-term key moving average and below the longer-term red moving averages right here. The guppy, okay, the magenta line of closing prices is below the short-term key moving averages, below the longer-term red moving averages, and all of them are pointing down and expanding. Okay, they're pointing down and expanding. That's telling you that it's a lot of momentum to the downside. This thing has a lot of correcting to do before you might want to try to try to go long something with all this momentum to the downside. That could be dangerous. Let's look at the SPY. All right, because we don't want this to be too long. Let's look at the SPY. And we're going to go through it quick because it's the same picture, okay? We're going to look at the weekly charts to give us a better idea of where that long-term support and resistance may be at, okay? But for the daily chart, you see it. We're below a downward trending 5-day moving average. There is nothing to talk about, okay? If you're below a downward trending 5-day moving average, that's a problem. And we're closing below it, all right? Down below a downward trending 5-day moving average and closing below a downward trending 5-day moving average. That's a problem, okay? Here's a 9-day moving average, okay, trending down. And the 21-day moving average trending down. The 50-day moving average overhead trending down. Everything is down, down, down. Okay, it's going down, all right? It's all down, all right? So it's nothing to talk about, all right? You're below a downward trending 5-day moving average. You got to wait until this thing's set up, all right? Now, let's look at our structural chart real quick, all right? Look at our structural chart real quick. Well, we came down and found support for 2 days now at the same horizontal support level, okay? And right at that internal trend line right here. For 2 days now, we found support here. We found support yesterday, and we found support today. We traded below it, got back above it. Traded below it today, got back above it. So this horizontal support level and this internal trend line here is kind of trying to hold. All right, that's right around 364.38. Can it hold come next week? Can it hold come next week? Well, we'll find out. But for right now, we got to wait and see, because the charts is telling us that the momentum is to the downside, but we at extremes. So you never know, we get a relief rally and it bounces. So that's why we don't want to chase it. We got to just keep watching, okay? We got to keep watching. And now let's look at the guppy, all right? And you can see the guppy is showing you that the momentum is clear to the downside. Look at the magenta line of closing prices. It's below the short-term green moving averages and the longer-term red moving averages. You see that? It's below the short-term green moving averages here and the longer-term red moving average. You see the magenta line of closing price is below all of that. The momentum is to the downside, all right? There is nothing to talk about, all right? You have to be careful. Look at the Ichimoku Cloud. Now the Ichimoku Cloud is not only pushing to the downside, but look at the yellow. Look at the yellow faster moving average just crossed below the magenta moving average, okay? You see that. That's another TK crossover. That's a very bearish indication. We need to see that yellow moving average line get above the magenta. It's below it right now. And the cloud is turned down. You see this cloud turned down? This blue line is down, the brown is up. When the cloud is up, the blue line is up and the brown one is down. The cloud is turned down. So the future forecast, the weather is dim. The weather may be stormy. It's a bad future weather forecast. In the future, the cloud is down. It's cloudy. Okay? Don't let it rain on your head. Watch and be careful. Look at what you're doing. Don't let it rain on you. Okay? This ain't Southern California. I hope for the people who are my age, it used to be a song say, "It never rains in Southern California." Well, it rains in the stock market. Okay? Be careful. All right? It rains in the stock market. I guess I'm showing y'all how old I am. Now let's go to the Qs. Okay? Let's go to the Qs. Here's the Qs. The QQQ. All right? Here. Let's expand it. Let's zoom in so you can see it. What do you see? You're below a downward trending 5-day moving average. You're below a downward trending green 9-day moving average. The white is the 5. You're below the yellow 21-day, and you're below a downward trending 50-day moving average. Okay? It's nothing to talk about. Look, this thing is going down. All right? So we got to wait until the ship rights itself. Let's go and look at the structural chart. But remember, we sitting on extremes, and we testing support levels. So we got to be careful. We got to look at that weekly chart. We're going to do that next. We're going to look at that weekly chart and see what it's telling us. But for right now, you can see the daily chart. We're sitting on support for all the index ETFs that we looked at so far. The major market index ETFs, the Dow Jones and the SPY. You see we're sitting on support. And today the same thing. We tested the same support level here. All right. This is for the Qs. We're at 269.79. We came and tested it. We tested its internal trend line. And she held support. We tested it today. Again, you see price, the lows touched it almost. And it bounced and closed above it. We held support. We still above this downward trending trend line. So we're trading below the 5-day moving average, but we're trying to hold some little bit of support. Well, can it hold? We'll find out next week. But until then, we're just going to wait and see. We're going to be patient and look for our opportunity to pounce. All right? Now, let's look at the guppy. You see that magenta line of closing price is below the green faster moving average, and it's below the green, the red, shorter, longer term moving averages. Okay, the magenta line of closing price is below all of it, and the faster moving average is pointing down and expanded, and the green and the red longer term moving average is also pointing down and they are expanded. Okay, look at the space in between them; it's pointing straight down. Okay, so that's telling you that the momentum is increasing to the downside. All right. There is a lot of downward momentum out here, but we're coming up against support. We got to be careful. The market could give us a relief rally and it could bounce. Don't get your head handed to you. I keep telling you that. I don't want you running around headless. Okay? Watch yourself. Here. This is the Ichimoku Cloud. And you can see it. You can see it right here. What's the future forecast? It's cloudy. See the future cloud pointing down? See, it's cloudy. It's cloudy. And look at the TK crossover, the yellow line below the magenta line, and prices are stuck below them. That's a very bearish, negative indication. That's telling you that's a lot of momentum to the downside. And the future forecast is cloudy. It's cloudy. I told you, Jamie Dimon, I told you before when we had this consolidation here and we had this overhead resistance and the cloud was pointing down, I told you, Jamie Dimon said he's looking for a hurricane. I said it might just rain. But maybe he's right. Maybe it might be a hurricane. Who knows? The future forecast is cloudy. The Qs it's got a lot of downward momentum. Look, at the end of the day, be careful. All right? Let's look at the IWM real quick. And you can see the IWM got the same picture. The prices are closing below and trading below a downward trend in 5-day moving average, downward trend in 9, downward trend in 21, downward trend in overhead 50-day moving average. Everything is down, down, down. It's going down. Okay, you can see the distribution. Look, distribution day, distribution day, distribution day. You see it? All distribution is all over the place. Okay, you can see that you got more red than green. Okay, you got more red days with above average volume than green days with above average volume. So that's telling you that with the volume analysis right now, that the volume analysis telling you that the price action is weak. Okay, so I'm telling you the IWM, that's a daily chart of the IWM, is going down too. But what? It could be finding support. So we want to be careful, okay? Because you see, it's right at this support level here, this horizontal support level right here at 164.24. We tested it, and we tested it, closed below it yesterday. We got right back above it today. But we find the resistance at this internal trend line here. So it's what it's going to do, squeeze here and fall back down. Well, then it could test this internal trend line. I mean, this outside downward trend line, break that. Then it might go to 150. So we got to watch the IWM, okay, along with everything else. It's a lot of downward weakness, but what is it going to do? Are we going to find support and start to rally, or what are we going to fall apart? And let's look at the guppy. You can see it. It's the same thing. The magenta line of closing price is below the longer term and faster green moving averages here. The magenta line of closing price is below the shorter green faster moving average, and is below the longer term red moving averages. Okay, so the guppy is telling you that the IWM is completely trading down. Now we're going to finish this off real quick with the ITOT. Okay, let's look at the ITOT real fast. Well, you can see it. And today, because it was option expiration date, where you see a big volume spike on the ITOT here for today. But you got to kind of ignore that because this is triple witching day. I told y'all in the morning article, hey, it's triple witching day today. You're going to see a lot of volume and a lot of volatility. But here's the 5-day moving average is trending down, the 9-day moving average trending down, 21-day moving average trending down. We trading below them all and closing below them all. There is nothing to talk about, all right? It is going down, all right? There's no reason to try to jump in front of this, try to catch a falling knife, all right? We are trying to test some support levels and let's see if we can hold, okay, right here. For the last 2 days, we've been testing this support right here. All right, sorry about that. Let me try that again. For the last 2 days, we've been testing this support right here at $80.63. Okay, for the last 2 days here, we tested it, closed above it. We tested it again today and closed above it. We got this downward trend line over top. Can it hold support and start to rally? Get above that downward trend in 5-day, 9-day, and 21-day moving average? Well, we have to see. We're going to keep an eye on it. Now, let's finish up this whole thing. Let's finish up this whole thing right now. Let's start back with the DIA and let's go to lowest. Okay? Let's finish this whole thing up with lowest. What do you see with lowest? Okay? Prices are below lowest. You can see that. Prices are below lowest. You below the magenta line. Okay? Lowest is telling you that the immediate swing is down. Okay, point blank and period. You're below the magenta line. Lowest is telling you that the immediate swing is down. For the DIA, this is the DIA, the ETF that tracks the Dow Jones Industrial Average. This is the daily chart. Lowest is telling you that the swing is down. Until lowest change and gets the blue line below prices and shows us that we got the launch of immediate upswing. Okay, we got to be careful. The swing is down. Lowest is telling you that. And I'm trying to tell you something right now. We can't lose with the stuff Lois use. Okay? I'm telling you right now, we can't lose with the stuff Lois use. Did you hear me? Do you feel me? Look at it. Okay? I'm trying to tell you something. Now, let's look at the SPY. This is the daily chart of the SPY. And as you can see, prices is below. The magenta line is above prices and prices are below it. Lois is telling you that the SPY is an immediate downswing. Okay, it's an immediate downswing. We are in a bearish downswing. Okay, it is not in a bullish upswing. We got to wait and see if we could get the blue line below prices. Can it flip and get below prices? And then we'll be in an upswing. Right now, we are in a downswing. She's telling you that. Be careful. QQQs. All right, same thing. QQQs, same thing. Now, only thing I give the QQQs is that it is trying to flatten out a little bit. It's trying to flatten out. Okay, you see it right here. It's trying to flatten out. So, what is the Q's trying to do? Well, we have to wait and see. So, we got to see if Lois could get the blue line below prices. And at that point, can we get above the 21-day moving average in this downward trending trend line? But right now, Lois is still telling you for the last 2 days, okay, the swing is down. We got a downswing. We do not have an upswing. We need the blue line to get below price and hold it as it move up. You see what happened when we got the blue line below prices over here. Okay, we got the blue line below price. It ran up and then it started flattening out. Prices held right in there. But what happened when prices broke that blue line of Lois, broke below the support, broke below the 21-day moving average, and you see what happened. Lois put the magenta line above prices. The swing was down. Right now the swing is still down. Okay, so we got to be careful. The immediate swing is down. We are in a downswing. All right. Lois is telling you that. Here's the IWM. Same thing with the IWM. Lois is telling you that we are in a downswing. Can you see it right there? It's nothing to talk about. Here it is. Lois is telling you we are in a downswing. We are in a downswing. We are below the internal trend line and the 21-day moving average is pointing down. We need to see the blue line to get below prices to tell us that we are in the launch of a new immediate upswing. Okay, now let's look at the last one. It's going to be the ITOT. What is the ITOT in? It's in a launch of a downswing. It's in a downswing. Lois is telling you it's in a downswing. We have to wait and see if we could get the blue line below prices. And Lois is telling us we're in the launch of an immediate upswing. So Lois is telling us, the charts are telling us that the momentum in the swing is down. Okay? The momentum in the swing is down. Be careful. Watch yourself. All right? Watch yourself. Be patient. This is not financial advice. You know I can't give that. But wouldn't it be nice if it was? Wouldn't it be great if it was? But it's not. But if it was, ching, ching, ching. And you know, keep you from losing a lot of money if it was. See you in the next video.